stopping the run. And they come out the gate with one of the most difficult teams to try to show your new piece against in bringing in Kenny Clark. Listen, this is going to be a challenge. Even when you're good against the run, the Philadelphia Eagles had success against multiple teams last year. But the question is going to, and everybody's going to be paying attention to what are you going to do on third down situations? Are you going to be able to generate pass rush? Are you going to affect the quarterback? Can you find somebody to run down Jalen Hurts when he starts to take off in the pocket? Who will the guy be? They brought Dante Fowler back. You got Nealon. You got Ezraku. Who will the guy be that's going to generate pressure from the outside? Because in no way do I expect one individual to impact the game, especially in the passing game, like Micah Parsons did for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, fella, for me, that's why this game's not really a referendum on is the Cowboys defense going to be improved, stopping the run. Kenny Clark has been there for 4 or 5 days. They're going against one of the, if not the best rushing football teams in the NFL, certainly one of the best offensive lines. So it's still a wait and see how improved the rush defense is. I would make the case that pass defense is primarily more important in today's NFL than rush defense. But with the addition of Kenny Clark, if Odighizuwa and him can help, Marcus's point, that'll be the most fascinating part of this game. When and if the Cowboys defense can get the Eagles into passing situations, does anybody sniff getting close to Jalen Hurts? But again, let's give this defense in Dallas a couple weeks to set in before we see if they've improved in the run defense area.
Well, they better get some pressure on Jalen Hurts, Dan, because I think lost in all of this conversation about the defensive line and Parsons and the run defenses, there are major holes in this secondary. The back seven, really, the linebacking group, question marks, a weakness in my mind. Secondary, Trevon Diggs is activated. He himself has said he might be 75%. A.J. Brown, not the player you want to be 75% against if he's out there. Deron Bland, I don't know if they play him at the nickel in this one because of Devontae Smith, but then if you do that, you open up another glaring weakness at cornerback too. We know the math problem that this Eagles offense presents for defenses. If you stack the box against the run, you play man coverage, they'll punish you through the air. And I worry that if Dallas does focus on stopping Saquon Barkley, they're going to get obliterated through the air because of the weaknesses they've got in the back end.
Yeah, MK, I think one of the things that's interesting, not only Thursday night, but about the secondary in general is Trayvon and really Deron Bland were ball hawks, but in many times, like playing man coverage, they would just have the ability to sit on stuff and pick the ball off. Matt Eberflus is not a man coverage kind of centric coach. They're going to play a lot more zone and a lot more shell down in Dallas. How do those secondary players, they're great players, but how do they fit in? Do they have the same amount of impact indifferent of the pass rush?
Yeah, guys, something that I think is going to be huge. We just saw this. Eagles Pro Bowl guard Landon Dickerson upgraded to a full practice today, putting him on track to be able to play Thursday night. That's big. Also, Dan, people are worried that you're making a hostage video. He's just at the U.S. Open, guys. It looks a little weird, Dan. I don't know what your background is.
I am literally in a dark closet.
Yeah, that wall look expensive, though. That wall look expensive.
Yeah, we all kind. I mean, like I kind of fell off a cliff there because I got so distracted by whatever Dan's doing. All right, in this article released this morning by Jeremy Fowler, new details emerged about how the Micah Parsons trade actually went down. This is pretty interesting. Some excerpts from the article. You can check it all out on ESPN.com. But the pivotal meeting that led to one of the most shocking NFL trades of the past decade occurred on a pleasant North Texas morning in mid-March. 5 months and a lifetime of ill feelings ahead of any deal being put to paper. The Cowboys believed they had a deal in place with Parsons and would continue to insist that he had agreed to it. Though the exact terms aren't known, Cowboys sources insist they offered more guaranteed money than the $136 million Parsons would get from Green Bay, albeit spread across a 5-year extension, not the 4-year extension that the Packers worked out. Quote, it was north of $150 million, the source said. To this day, Parsons' agency has never seen the final details or structure of the deal that Jones said he cut with Parsons. Parsons' agent, David Mulgeta, spoke to First Take this morning regarding the negotiations.
He got a call from Jerry's assistant and was asked to come in to meet about leadership. So when he got back from his vacation, he came in and he gave him a call, told him he was back, he was ready to meet. At some point during that meeting that was represented to him was going to be about leadership. It turned into contract talk. And, if you're a 25-year-old football player and your boss, who happens to be the most powerful person in the NFL, starts talking about contracts, it's hard for you to end that conversation. So they had a conversation. Micah nodded his head out of respect. Obviously, there's a power dynamic that's a little different there. One guy is the owner of the team and the GM, and the other one is Micah Parsons, a young 25-year-old football player. So I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication there by the time Micah walked out, but at no point did Micah believe that he was negotiating a contract.
Ooh, Swag, what do you make of all this in Dallas?
It's so many layers, Boogie. But I have come to the conclusion that Dallas didn't want to sign Micah Parsons. And if they didn't, this is what people have been saying, is you should have made that decision earlier and maybe got more compensation. But all of this stuff that's coming out now is just like Boogie and Dio and Mina, we've all been in relationships, okay? The lady looks phenomenal and she cooks phenomenal. She does great things when you're in a relationship. The man look good. He smell good. He the best boyfriend ever. And then when you break up, ain't none of them worth crap. And somebody lying, right? That's always the case. So again, you think about all of the layers that have come across with this story. The bottom line is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL in their prime didn't get a contract extension from a team that he was the face of defensively. Ended up on a team in the NFC that you potentially have to meet in the playoffs if Dallas gets there. I expect Green Bay to get there. And now you had this whole thing with Jerry and David Mulligetta and not having conversations. Talk to my agent, all of the bad blood and the personal stuff. But if you didn't really have a plan to sign Micah Parsons and you kind of just belabored this thing to try to figure out what the narrative would be when it was all said and done, you played yourself, Dallas. You either should have got it done earlier, got the contract done earlier at a cheaper rate like Mulligetta alluded to a year ago, or you make the trade and you get more for Micah Parsons when more teams probably would have been involved in pitching their tent to try to get him into their organization. In turn, you end up with this situation where we're 5 days out from the start of the season. You playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the first game of the season, and nobody's going to think about anything other than your young premier defensive player did not show up. I just hope Philly don't put a 40 burger on us.
Okay, well, listen, that's like, yeah, they should have put a ring on it. Micah being the person they should have put the ring on, and then in a relationship analogy, if we're going to continue that on,
you know how it go.
I know. So then the worst thing is then when the person that you didn't put the ring on, then they go and have a great performance on the other team, which Dallas is now potentially going to be in that situation. So let's turn our attention to that other team. What the Packers got here, present day. Micah Parsons is now a Packer. Still wild to see him out there. I mean, look at him out there in a different uniform. Sure enough, he's practicing. He's getting ready to go. There he is with Green Bay. Now, Sunday, they open the season against the Lions with their new defensive start. Mina, how do you see the Packers working Micah into their defense week one?
And Jeff Ashley must have woke up the happiest man on earth. That man cannot believe his luck. So Micah Parsons, there's many things that make him an amazing pass rusher. His speed is the first thing. He's got a great set of moves, but his alignment versatility is something that jumps out to me here. They're going up against the Detroit Lions team that is starting a rookie guard, a center who's a downgrade from the previous center, and then a second-year guard who looked promising last year. If I'm Hafley, I'm lining up Parsons on the inside. Not obviously, the bulk of his snaps, but you're definitely trying it because when he has done that, he has been devastating. And then suddenly he's getting double, tripled. That's opening opportunities for Rashawn Gary that he's going to have all season long, quite frankly. Lucas Van Ness, Edgerrin Cooper, who I think might be one of the best young blitzing linebackers in football, is going to have opportunities, unblocked pressures. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that versatility from Micah early on, especially given the matchup against Detroit and the inexperience they've got on the interior of their offensive line.
Well, MK, to your point, right? Lining Micah up in different spots, but also a four-man rush where you don't have to jeopardize your coverage and you can dictate to defenses. This is why players get paid so much. This is why the TJ Watts and the Myles Garretts and the Micah Parsons get paid so much. Because teams come into games trying to figure out how in the hell are we going to stop this guy from wrecking our offensive game plan. And now you send him over to Green Bay where you have a defensive coordinator that showed vast improvement on this defense. Also, you got a lot of speed in which Mina alluded to. You start to play with that. You start to dictate. Dan and Mina and you, Boogie, have heard me say this all the time. the best defenses have the opportunity throughout games to dictate what they want the offense to do. And when you sign a guy like this that's opposite of Rashawn Gary, who, by the way, ain't just some sliced bread, he's one of the best rushers in the NFL as well. When you have both of those guys that you have to game plan for and stop from wrecking your game, now your defensive coordinator can be in a position to force the action as opposed to sit back and wait and catch. And a four-man rush in the NFL is as premium as, guess what? Stopping the run.
By the way, Marcus, this wall behind me is about as real as the color of your beard, fella. So just to clear up the background.
But this is all
in relation
natural.
to Micah.
Nah. Yours looking good.
Yeah. Keep dreaming. Keep dreaming. That thing is painted on.
You ain't never seen this
in
beard
relation
change
to
colors.
Micah
We've been together 10 years.
The Packers. One, the pressure goes directly now to Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks, because the same situation that many have kind of aligned Dallas with is like, are you going to stop the run to actually have opportunities to rush the passer? The Packers weren't great at that last year, and so those two interior players are going to have to step up, and I want to see some of the other young pieces. I think the second thing, MK Marcus, you know this, is when Micah was moved around in Dallas, it was often in man coverage situations, and it was an overload type. They were trying to bring more numbers than you could really handle. Hafley, one of his evolutions from the time really in San Francisco to last year was they started using a ton of simulated pressures in Green Bay. I want to see if they have simulated packages utilized for Micah already. If they are able to plug Micah in some of those simulated pressures where he bluffs and moves around and there's pick games inside. Because if they have that already, then this secondary that everyone's concerned about will play much, much better than people expect.
I keep thinking about the Lions. You know, they've had all the change in the offseason. They're preparing for the Packers, and they're like, oh, man, now we got to prepare for Micah Parsons. We weren't planning on that. Yeah. Also, Dan, you are the grayest of us all. Like, I'm realizing this. Everybody else, none of us are going gray. I think you're leading the charge there.
I'm from Louisiana, Dan.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm from Louisiana.
Wow.
This is how it goes.
I'm probably the youngest of us all, too.
No, I'm the youngest.
That's it? It's
I'm
just
36.
a Louisiana thing?
All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live.